real quick while I fix this. Welcome to Texas Motor Speedway for the first round of the first race of the third round of the Darkmatter Designs FTSR playoffs. I'm joined in the booth tonight by Chris Spear. Chris, we had a wild one at the Roval last week. Now we're back at Texas Motor Speedway. The first time these Gen 6 cars have been on the track here.
First time here, and it's going to be in the round of 8, like you mentioned, Jared. This is kind of a breath of fresh air for a couple of drivers. Last week was pretty chaotic with that cut race.
Yeah, it sure was. And let's get into all that action and information as we take a look at our standings coming into tonight's race here at Texas Motor Speedway. As qualifying just wrapping up here tonight. A couple more minutes left there. And let's take a look at those championship standings real quick here. There we go. And you'll see there Terrell, Bernard Persson leading the way right now at the top of the list. Dale Nearad tied with him. And then we have Bobby Terrell, Casey Mullen, Brody Hanna, Ralph Nolen, Wayne Grossi, and Brian Helm left up there, Chris.
That we are. And these drivers all tonight, they may get a clean slate here. But this round, unlike a couple of our other rounds, this one's a little bit less chaotic. These are a lot more tracks that it's a make it for yourself type of track, especially with here at Texas and Kansas. The only real wild card, Jared, is our cut race again, Martinsville at the end.
Exactly right, Chris. As you take a look at those drivers still alive in this championship. Qualifying just now wrapping up here And we'll take a look at all that going on here in just a second. But right now we're going to take a quick commercial or hear from our national anthem first, and then take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the lands of the free and the home of the brave?
All right, we're back live here at Texas Motor Speedway. Warm-up underway as we take a look at tonight's race information, Chris. This is Texas Motor Speedway. As we talked about, have not raced this track yet this year.
No, we haven't, Jared. And looking at our temperatures here tonight, our weather, 78 degrees. That's actually pretty true to the way it is right now. I live about 30 minutes from this track, and it's pretty similar temperature here, a little bit cooler even. Track temperature itself, 98 degrees though, so 1.46 mile tri-oval, if you will. It's kind of a unique track, very similar to Charlotte, owned by SMI Corp. It's one of my favorite tracks to go watch at, and now it's the home currently to the All-Star race.
Home to the All-Star race, and we'll be back at the All-Star race next year, I believe, but in May this time around, so be looking out for that instead of in June. See those drivers coming up. But Chris, you look at the drivers that have been very good here at Texas Motor Speedway. Bernard Persson, they've ran 6 races here in FTSR. Bernard Persson's won 3 of them. Brody Hanna 2 and Dean Doucette 1. Dean Doucette's out of the playoff, but the other 2 drivers still have an opportunity to make it to the championship for it.
Well, and you mentioned it right there. Bernard Persson, last year's champion, is looking to go here tonight and have a good showing. And I think we can kind of expect that out of that number 8 machine. He's been pretty good here, just looking through practice laps and his qualifying, just showing exactly where he's standing in the speed here. Really looks like that number 8 is kind of brought something here.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Chris, and he is looking very good on the time charts here at Texas Motor Speedway. We'll have to see how he can get on in this track here tonight. He needs a good win, a good race. Everybody that's in this round of 8, you look at him, Chris, we'll bring up the championship standings once again, but you look at these 8 drivers, any of these drivers stick out as maybe potential spoiler or somebody that could make it to the championship for that we're not thinking about here?
You know, it's hard to actually put any of these guys as being down and out. We thought previously maybe Ralph Nolen Jr., Wayne Rossi would be in those positions where they were only outs looking in, and they've shown once again that they can make it and get it done, especially with last week with Ralph Nolen barely squeaking into the round of 8 here. But if anything, I'm going to say that it's going to come down to kind of luck. We've seen a lot of drivers in the playoffs already having a lot of issues early on. We talk about mistakes all the time. That's going to be the key. So right now with this first race here, don't think we can count anyone out quite yet.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Chris, and it's going to be exciting to see what these drivers can do at Texas Motor Speedway. As you look at those standings, only 13 points separate Bernard Persson at the top and Brian Helm, his teammate, at the bottom. Only 1 point separating Casey Mullen and Brody Hanna from being in and out of the championship 4. It's going to be intense. It's going to be difficult, and it's going to be a long race all here tonight at Texas Motor Speedway. We got about 5 seconds actually now left in warm-up, so we're about ready to get the grid out here, and the final race at Texas Motor Speedway of the season will be commencing here in just a moment as the drivers get in their cars, and we're about ready to get this thing lined up. And you see them appearing on the grid now, so let's take a look at our starting grid here. And on the pole is Dale Nearad beating out Dean Doucette by 1,000th of a second, if you can believe that. Bobby Terrell and Richie Coy round out row 2. Brody Hanna and Brian Helm in row 3. Lane Allen and Bernard Persson in row 4. And Casey Mullen and Ralph Nolen in your top 5. And Chris, if you notice, all your playoff drivers except one in your top 10 tonight.
Absolutely. Right in your row 16, you got Sherwood Williford, Darren Bruce. Right behind them in row number 7, Rachel Hunt, Jason Spear, Adam Newton, and TJ Bartell. In row 8 and row 9 is going to be Kenneth Schultz and Mark Figueroa. Round 10 and rounding out your top 20, Gil Gok and Chuck Sweeney.
Looking back at row 11, Stephen Vrooman and Mike Watts will make up that row. Looking back at your row number 12 is Andrew Poliski and the other playoff driver not in the top 10 in qualifying, Wayne Grossi. He's going to have a lot of ground to make up. Row 13 will be Josh Johnson and Troy Torgerson, who got eliminated last week. Row 14, Josh Mayu and Tony Solari. Row 15, Randall Ballard and James Torrey. And row 16 will be Chad Lang and Donnie Staubitz. Rounding out your 34-car field will be Steve Loomis and Brandon Elder in your last row tonight, Chris.
And Jared, you talk about it. Wayne Grossi back there starting in 24th. He's got a lot of ground to make up. It's a long race with 167 laps. But even so, Jared, that's quite a ways back just to be able to get up here. With this race, he's known for going long green flag runs. He's going to be able to try to do whatever he can early to get up and make some of those positions up. Otherwise, he may be in for a bit of a struggle for this race.
Yeah, exactly right. 24th is not where I'm sure he wanted to start at, but he will have to come from behind here tonight at Texas Motor Speedway. We've got James Torrey. He did not make the grid. Looks like he's having a little bit of connection issue in that number 2 machine. But nonetheless, we're going to get this thing going and ready to go. Dean Doucette, Dale Nearad on the pole, the front row. And then you have the regular season champion, almost eliminated last week, Bobby Terrell, who barely snuck into the round of 8. What can he do? And then you have Brody Hanna, Richie Coy, all there. Pace car is off, and the Texas 250 about ready to commence. Flagman holds the flag out, and he is going to drop it. Green flag is out here at Texas Motor Speedway, and a great start by Dale Nearad, who might have gotten a jump.
Yeah, Jared, definitely looks like that one's going to be close. We'll have to wait to see what race control says, but definitely a good start there for him. And right behind him, bringing Bobby Terrell is underneath Doucette. Doucette's going to make the outside lane work there on the back straightaway, though, and prevail on the backstretch, but still not quite clear of that 5.
Bobby Terrell in a little bit of a world of underneath of Dean Doucette. Dean Doucette with a very swooping exit off the corner, and he will hold on to second position. Terrell slots into third. Hanna. Then we got further back, it's Bernard Persson battling with Lane Allen there on the outside. Of course, Bernard Persson racing for Mia. As always, on the front of that car, we have Donnie Staubitz, who missed the grid. He is leading pit road right now.
And Lane Allen got wicked loose underneath Bernard Persson, was not able to keep that car going in the right direction. Didn't wreck or anything like that, but just got out of it and lost 2 positions. 3 positions at this point, it looks like. Now Brian Helm got passed by his teammate, the 8 as well. Bernard Persson's making his way up through this field pretty easily.
While that was going on, Chris, Dean Doucette to the lead in the number 29, eliminated last week from the Roval, and his championship hopes might have been over before that if you talked to him. But he is going out here and trying to go into the season with, on a positive note. Dale Nearad sliding back, may have given up that position to prevent a penalty later on. I'm not sure really there, but Dale Nearad slipping back into the clutches of Bobby Terrell. Dean Doucette kind of taken away now.
That he is already a 0.3 of a second lead over Nearad, as Nearad gets loose coming out of the corner there, loses a little bit of momentum, and now he's got a mirror full of Bobby Terrell on the 5.
Bobby Terrell all over the back of Dale Nearad, but can't maintain it. On the other hand, you talked about him, Chris. Bernard Persson already up 3 positions, moved that machine up to the high side, and he moves around Richie Coy up into 5th place.
Looking back through your field, a couple quick movers already. Michael Watts in the 3 machine up 5 positions on his starting spot. Troy Torgerson up into the 19th plus 7 from his starting spot.
There's Mike Watson. He is battling to stay inside the top 35 in points. That's a very crucial thing that allows you to be able to be in the race next year. To start the season off, they're only going to let 5 drivers qualify in, so everybody else locked in on points for the first 5 races, I believe, for next year. So that's going to be very interesting to see. Troy Torgerson, you talked about him, unfortunately eliminated. Talked to Troy after the race. He had a meatball flag, which we kind of hypothesized on the broadcast, but didn't want to confirm. The kind of strange late pit stop, he did have a meatball flag, had to come down pit road, otherwise it would have disqualified him from the race. So unfortunately missed out by 1 point. That's all it took for Troy Torgerson to miss the round of 8.
And that just shows how competitive these drivers are in the playoffs, Jared. Just 1 single point from being in this race here tonight as a playoff driver. But he's not letting it get him too far down as he's trying to charge his way back up. Now up 8 positions into the 18th position. Now Dean Doucette up front, though, has Dale Nearad closing back in on him. That lead that was 0.3 is now, well, it's back at 0.3 after that corner. But now Terrell trying to get underneath Nearad.
We want to look at that battle up front, and Terrell can't quite do it. Want to check in on Dwayne Grossi. He's moved up 2 spots, and he's in a world of traffic back here in 21st position, looking underneath Mark Figueroa, and he's got his work cut out for him as he is outside the cut line and obviously running back in the mid-20s. Not the way he wanted to qualify in that 7 machine, looking underneath Mark Figueroa, who had a great race last week at the Roval, finishing in the top 10 and prevented Troy Torgerson from making the playoffs there. But Mark Figueroa also battling to finish in the top 35 in points, so there's a lot at play for a lot of different drivers. Everybody has something to race for out here tonight.
That they do, and Wayne Grossi going to look to do whatever he can to get up these valuable positions. He's able to get in front of Figueroa in the 04. Now he's going to set his sights on Adam Newton, but still a long ways to go for that 7 machine.
Yeah, and we look up at some of our other playoff contenders. Casey Mullen, he's the driver that is going into this race, 4th place in points, and he is right now down 4 positions, Chris. Casey is a conservative driver a lot of times. He's usually thinking long-term, but 4 positions at the start, that's got to be a little concerning for the 71 team.
That it could be, Jared. It also could be that he's attempting to save his tires. Texas isn't known for going through tires all that bad, but he could be trying to save just a little bit more than everyone in front of him and reel those positions intact later in this run, hoping that it stays green.
Yeah, exactly right, Chris, and that could be something to pay attention to. In front of him, just in front of him, is Ralph Nolen Jr., who was the driver that made all the drama last week, making it inside the playoff 8 position into the round of 8. A good season for the 95 machine, and he is just ahead of Casey Mullen, but he is going to have to look for something a little bit else in that number 95 car here at Texas. But it's a long race. We're only 11 laps in, 167 laps here tonight.
Only 11 laps in, coming to 12. Now Bernard Persson moves his way up into the 2nd position.
Let's get back up to the front where all the rest of the playoff drivers are. All of the rest of them, in fact, on your screen right there, 2nd through 6th. Bernard Persson leading the way, just getting past his teammate Dale Nearad, and he will set his sights on Dean Doucette in a battle for the lead. Bernard Persson would love to lock himself into the championship 4. Chris, you look at that championship 4, the data said it was going to be Bobby Terrell, it was going to be Troy Torgerson, it was going to be Bernard Persson, it was going to be kind of a toss-up between a couple different drivers, but for the 4th position. But now, Troy Torgerson's not in it. Now you have a whole new ball game for a lot of these other drivers.
That you do, and it's really opened up the eyes of those drivers, because I think a lot of people believe that he was going to be one of the ones to beat to get in the championship. But at the same time, no one expected that Bobby Terrell was going to be in a position at the end of the Charlotte Roval that he was going to have to race his way in. Everyone expected those two probably to be the favorites going into the championship race. Only one of them remains.
Bernard Persson to the high side, and he had to get off the gas.
Got off the gas. Doesn't look like he got any damage to the right side of that car, but he got awfully close to that wall.
Yeah, Bernard Persson definitely a little bit high on the high side there, hanging it out. He battles back on the outside as we jump on board the 8 car, going down into turn 1. And this is a wide sweeping turn now, Chris. Kind of like, you know, a California, Michigan type angle to that turn, but it flattens out extremely quick, and I think it may have caught Bernie out there a little bit.
Yeah, I think so too, Jared. Luckily for him, it was his teammate behind him. Oh, Richie Coy all the way up the track behind him in the 19.
Richie Coy is not having a good time. I did not catch that, Chris. Did he hit the wall? Doesn't look like it.
Give me one moment. I'll go back and check on that, but it definitely cost him 4 positions because it looked like he just got way up there and may have had a little bit of help from Brian Helm.
Brian Helm.
Yes, Brian Helm got loose underneath him, and they tried to go through there with 8 wheels instead of 4, and that's what led to that moment.
Let's see if we can get a replay on that and see what happened here. I think this might be it here. So you see Brian Helm is underneath Brody Hanna at this point in time, and we jump on board Richie Coy here. He moves to the outside of Brian Helm, heading into this corner. Down into turn number 3 here, and you'll see it. Oh, Brian Helm I don't know if he got loose until he made contact with Richie Coy, but Coy does a good job holding off and staying off the wall, keeps it going straight.
Incredible driving by Richie there to keep it out of the wall, Jared. I mean, he was all the way turned to the left, keeping that thing off the wall.
Dean Doucette loose off turn number 2. That's going to bring Dale Nearad up to him, Chris. And you look at Texas Motor Speedway. In 2017, they redid it. Now, this version of the track didn't come out until 2020 for iRacing with its reconfiguration. But you look at how this track drives nowadays. How crucial is it to get off turn number 2 and be able to kind of IndyCar it down the back straightaway here?
Well, it really matters because you need to be able to stay in the throttle as much as possible, as Bernard Persson's going to go around Dale Nearad, his teammate, and Bobby Terrell is going to look to get underneath him as well. But Jared, you need to be able to stay in the throttle clear as much as possible, as now Lane Allen back coming out of 2 gets up into the wall as well.
Lane Allen, who had a great run last week at the Roval, got his first career Cup Series victory in 114 starts. Finally got it done, but that car might have just grazed it. Don't see a whole lot of damage on the 14 machine running in 8th place. And got to give a shout out as well to Sherwood Williford in 7th place. Good job for Sherwood, up 4 spots. Always does good at Texas. And Darren Bruce looking underneath Richie Coy. He's been so solid over the last few weeks, and he could be somebody to watch for in the Full Throttle Darkmatter Designs Cup Series next year as he looks underneath Richie Coy in a battle for 9th. But up front, it is Dean Doucette still holding off Bernard Persson, Dale Nearad, Bobby Terrell, Brody Hanna, Brian Helm, all kind of in this pack of 6 cars.
And Jared, one thing to note, unlike the real-life NASCAR race, you don't have any of that PJ1 or tacky stuff up there, that resin, to make the outside groove as effective. But a lot of different drivers here tonight are going up there. Brian Helm, he's running up about 2 grooves higher than pretty much everyone else on the track in that 26 machine, whereas pretty much everyone else is trying to be glued right to that white line.
Helm is definitely a little bit loose, and usually if you're loose, you like to kind of maybe move up the track, and that lets you cut down that steering radius a little bit so it stays up there. But look how high up the track he's running there. He is up a second into the second groove there through the turn, and he is actually gaining up some time on Brody Hanna down the back straightaway. That's the only way, Chris, that you can get a run at this new Texas Motor Speedway.
That is true, Jared, and he's really getting a great run on that outside. Brody Hanna is pretty much shutting the door every time we get to a straightaway just to keep the 26 behind him, but I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to do that before Brian Helm has a nose there.
Well, is part of it the dirty air that Brian Helm is experiencing? Maybe that car just doesn't handle good behind somebody?
I don't know, Jared. Brian seems to like his car a little bit looser than pretty much anyone else, and he said that he likes that because of just how much better it is on the long green flag runs, which we typically experience in this race, and in this series in general. Now he's looking on the lower side. You can actually see his car still seems to handle way better up in that higher groove, just not able to make the lower groove work to get away from Brody Hanna.
Battle for third up here. Dale Nerad on the inside, but Bobby Terrell went to the outside, and Bobby Terrell is going to clear the 0-3, so move Bobby, the regular season champion, up to third place, chasing down Bernard Persson. Dean Doucette continuing to lead. Helm, Hanna, they're battling for fifth. We look a little bit further back. Casey Mullen has started to kind of move forward again. He is up to 11th spot. He just got around Rachel Hunt, who's in a tight battle with Chuck Sweeting. Both those drivers could be very big contenders next year in this series, and we'll see what happens here with those guys. Looking behind them, Ralph Nolen Jr., he's down 4 spots under some challenge from Mike Watts, who's been on fire moving forward there.
Yeah, and don't look now, but behind Mike Watts, Troy Torgerson has now got up into the top, or trying to break into the top 15, right there behind Mike Watts, and now he's going to get a nose up underneath Mike and put Troy Torgerson in 15th, Jared.
Well, not just yet. Going across the line, Mike Watts got a lot of run off the corner, and this turn one, it's really disadvantageous to be on the outside. We have seen some passes be made there. He gets right to the quarter panel. Mike Watts doing a whale of a job staying alongside the number 98 machine, and they're going to battle down the back straightaway.
Jared, that outside groove just has a little bit more momentum coming out of the corners here, and really, if you're going to be able to make this pass work, got to slide up in front of Mike Watts, and you see it. That's what Troy Torgerson does there. Gets it done. Now he'll be able to get back into his groove, but these two drivers battling, they lost a little bit of time to Ralph Nolen.
Looking back at our last playoff contender, Wayne Grossi in 20th position, only moved up 4, being very patient, if you will. He's behind Jason Spear and Gil Gawk, a former teammate, but hasn't been able to really move forward. He's got his current teammate, TJ Bartel, right behind him, who's dropped off 5 spots since the start.
Jared, we mentioned that it was going to take a little bit of patience to get through this field. Well, it's a little bit harder as well when you're battling guys that actually want to get up here and contend for a win. As soon as he gets closer and closer to that top 15, top 10, top 5, those drivers aren't exactly going to move out of his way. They don't care if he's a playoff driver or not.
Jason Spear, the driver, ahead of him, and Wayne Grossi is going to look underneath. This is a battle for 19th spot for Wayne Grossi in the 7. We're keeping an eye up front. Right now that lead is about 1/10 of a second. Jason Spear up on the high side doing a great job in that number 83. New look for that paint on that number 83 machine tonight for Spear Motorsports. And you see it right there. Wayne Grossi still traveling, and he is going to get that position, move Wayne Grossi up inside the top 20 now.
You say that, but Jason Spear battling hard on the outside there. A little bit of momentum coming off the corner, still side by side on the backstretch.
And TJ Bartel thought maybe he'd go the low line there, but might not be close enough to kind of help there. And wow, close through the corner on board Wayne Grossi. Let's try to take a look back from TJ Bartel. Now I think the move is done. TJ Bartel is going to go through as well.
And Wayne Grossi's kind of relying on his teammate there to help. This track, with it being a mile and a half, Jared, there is a little bit of draft here at Texas Motor Speedway. So this will help as he's trying to get up here and get around people, as long as he can keep his teammate on his back bumper.
And his other teammate, Mike Watts, is in 16th, and then Bobby Terrell in 2nd spot. And let's see what happened up front to the lead change here, Chris. So Bernard Persson's been setting this thing up, and we saw it on our telemetry there, but here he is. Dean Doucette goes to the high side, wanted to test that out, or maybe just didn't get a good entry, couldn't really tell from that angle. Bernard Persson down the back straightaway, and once that door opens, it's kind of a floodgate. You see Bernard Persson go through to the lead, and then Bobby Terrell follows through, Dale Nerad follows through, and Dean Doucette gets a little bit loose off turn 4, and that opened the door even more. He drops to 4th.
Yeah, Dean going on that high groove, it seems like he's kind of been running that right rear tire off, and I think that's kind of what his issue is, and that's what's making him a little bit more loose coming out of the corner. He's just trying to overdrive that car a little bit, trying to make up some of that speed.
On board Dean Doucette, very consistent driver, and you see still almost full throttle through the corner, but it looks a little bit tight through the middle and then loose. So he's got to push loose right there, Chris, and that's not fun as you see Steven Verman in the 00 entering the pits.
And just looking at the hands on the steering wheel there with Dean Doucette, that was pretty incredible how he's pretty much mid-slide all the way out of the corner.
Very loose off the corner there as we were still on board. And Dean Doucette, definitely, Chris, I think you're right. He has maybe used up that right rear tire just a little bit more than Dean would probably want to. For who knows what reason or what happened there. Could be a setup, could be something with the track maybe changing as well. But we look up front. Bernard Persson now leading. So that's going to put a playoff driver in the first 3 spots. Persson, Terrell, Nearad. Then we have Doucette. Helm still in 5th. Hanna has dropped to 7th.
Yeah, and it seems like Hanna's battling a little bit of a tight race car here tonight. That's what's causing him to fall back. But he's not the only one, Jared. There's a couple of drivers up here that seem to be falling off. I mean, obviously, Dean Doucette is. Dale Nearad, even though he's still up in the 3rd position, he started this race as your pole sitter. So it's showing that he's kind of not got the car that he wants as well. Riding on board with him, it looks like he's kind of got some of the same issue that Dean has as he's having to turn that car back to the right in the middle and the exit of the corner.
Yeah, let's look at Dale Nearad. He's got the flannel fire suit on tonight. It's that October weather, I guess. And you look at him, look at how concentrated he is in the cockpit, just barely turning the corner, barely turning, but his car doesn't look nearly as loose as we saw from Dean Doucette.
No, not at all. And going back and looking at Dean Doucette, he kind of has a little bit better advantage coming out of 4. That looseness is actually helping him because he's not having to turn near as much as he'd like there. Bernard Persson up here in the lead, he's got a little bit different groove that he's running here out of the corner. Kind of swinging it wide, almost like he's getting a little tight.
Bernard Persson definitely a little bit more, a little bit loose off turn 4 as we jump on board with Bernard Persson there. But Chris, he is doing very much a well job, and he's, like we said at the top of the broadcast, 3 wins in 6 races. Tonight, the 7th race that they've done at FTSR at Texas that was a points-paying race. They did do the All-Star race, but it was with the next-gen car back in June. Bernard Persson leading, no surprise there.
No surprise at all. Looking back through your field, and a couple of drivers making their way up towards the front. Chuck Sweeting in the 75, he's up 11 positions on the start. In the 9th position, a little bit different paint scheme for him. Used to seeing him in that black and green car. Now he's got a blue and black one with Gator Racing on the side.
Yeah, Gator Racing there. Moving up into the 9th position, he won the Xfinity race on Thursday night with Full Throttle Sim Racing. So Chuck can definitely get his way around this track. And you look at some of these other drivers, Chris, a little bit further back. We haven't talked a lot about some of these drivers back here. Josh Mayu in 23rd position, up 4 positions. And you see Steven Verman going up underneath of him. That is not for a position. Tony Solari in the 74, up 4 positions. Kenneth Schultz going backwards, down 9. So a tough race for Kenneth Schultz, who's trying to stay inside the top 35. Randall Ballard there as well. Andrew Poliski trying to finish 17th in points. I mean, that's as far up as he can go. And he has got Chad Lang all over the back of him. Steve Loomis, James Torrey, all your drivers on the lead lap. The leaders are going to be catching James Torrey very shortly here in probably the next few laps.
Looking up here to another group of playoff drivers, or at least one, Brian Helm is kind of getting past here. He made his way around Sherwood Williford and Darren Bruce. Now Darren Bruce and Sherwood Williford getting back in front of him. Seems like that 26 is kind of falling off here, Jared, as we run a little bit longer race.
And don't look now, Chuck Sweeting also in this battle as well. He has gotten around Brody Hanna, and I've rumors around the garage, Chris, that Brody Hanna might be getting some extra help here for the playoffs. And boy, that setup that he's got tonight, not maybe to his liking. And Brian Helm almost in the wall.
Yeah, Brian Helm, it looks like he's kind of done the same thing as Dean Doucette, kind of burned off that right rear, which is a little bit interesting since he's running that higher groove, Jared. Usually it's a little bit better on tires, but it seems like he's getting a little bit more tight now.
Something's happened to Dean Doucette.
Just got wicked loose coming out of the corner as he went all the way down to the apron, able to save that car. But wow, what a ride for Dean Doucette.
That was nearly a wreck I thought was going to happen. That's going to move. That doesn't change anything there. But Brian Helm now passed by Chuck Sweeting and Darren Bruce. Moved Darren Bruce up to 6 spots. So Darren Bruce having another great race, showing he's got some speed in that 06 machine. Chuck Sweeting just behind him. Helm and Hannah will drop back to 8th and 9th. Not what they need here tonight in this playoff push. And don't look now, Chris, you see back in the distance there? That's Casey Mullen. He is continuing to just kind of ease his way forward.
Well, Jared, he's kind of getting a little bit of a smooth running car right now. Brian Helm electing to pit now.
So this is interesting. So this is lap 42. That means that this is going to be at least another stop, Chris, and we do the math here. That's 42, 84, 126. Is that right? So yeah, that's another 2 stops for Brian Helm at this point, right? Tony Solari and Chad Lang in as well.
He's kind of forcing people to come with him. And we were looking on board the 74 and the 00 machine.
Ooh, Dane Doucette's in, and boy, Darren Bruce didn't know that, and he almost ran into him. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
We saw what the fresh tires did for Vrooman after his pit stop, and so these drivers, they saw it, they took notice of it, and they think that it's the best case scenario is to get out here, get tires, get back out there, and make up some time. And why not? If you're falling back, you kind of need to do something different.
Well, what about these top 3? Does any of these top 3 say, I'm going to go ahead and come into pit road and try to gain some track position here? And it looks like all of them still staying out this time around. We look back, Darren Bruce is going to stay out. Sure, Williford, Chuck Sweeting, they're all staying out as well. So is Brody Hanna, Richie Coy, Casey McMullen. But, you know, Chris, you look at the guys that are on pit road. None of them are playoff drivers except Brian Helm. How do you feel about that gamble for these playoff drivers? Because if this plays off for Brian Helm, this could be spelling trouble for these playoff drivers that haven't pitted yet.
Absolutely, Jared. I mean, we mentioned that Brian Helm was falling off. We saw how tight that car was getting. He needed to come down pit road to get a little bit of adjustment and new tires. And if you're these top 3 up here, you're kind of going to be watching his lap times to see how he's comparing to you, whether or not you're falling off too much. But right now, these drivers, they have about a 3-second lead on 4th position. So at the moment, it's kind of worth the gamble for them to stay out.
Kenneth Schultz merging back on the track. Randall Ballard down and away as well. He'll be out of pit road right now. 24 cars on the lead lap. Now Kenneth Schultz comes out right beside the race leaders, and that's going to really tie up Bernard Persson here because Schultz isn't up to speed, but Persson is, but Schultz is faster.
Man, that was hard to follow there, but yeah, Schultz with those fresh tires is going to be faster than your leader here. He's going to have to go to the outside and make it work. Bernard Persson going to let him take it. No reason really to fuss with it at the moment. Now, if you're Bernard Persson, you're sitting here thinking about it. Your teammate just pit. You've got now drivers coming up alongside you, passing you. It's going to make you a little bit more anxious and more wanting to come to pit road as these drivers pass you. But right now, Kenneth Schultz not able to get around your leader.
Kenneth Schultz struggling right now. Andrew Polisky on pit road. We got a couple other drivers. Chad Lang in this mix. Randall Ballard, Tony Solari, all on fresh rubber, trying to get around, get one of their laps back. They are 2 laps down currently. Dean Doucette, Brian Helm, they're running 30.2s, whereas our leader, Bernard Persson, 31.6. What a mix of stuff going on right now as the faster drivers coming through the field.
And Jared, if you're Dale Nearad, Neo 3, you just got put in a sandwich of fresh tires as you went 3 wide coming through 2. He elected to get out of it and let those 2 drivers go on by, but that made things just a real interesting moment there for those drivers. You can see that they have just so much more corner speed than these 3 with older tires here, but really they're not able to really do much until you get to the corner. You can actually see the 91 of Schultz seems to kind of be holding up Chad Lang, the 74, and Andrew Polisky as well. If you're these 3 drivers, though, Jared, I think you're going to be coming around lap 50, 54, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so we do the math here, Chris. Lap 60 would be 61.20. That's a 2-stopper. 55 would be 55, 110, 165. So I think if these guys are trying for just another stop after this one, basically a 2-stop race. We got a battle for the lead. Terrell looking underneath Bernard Persson, who did not get a good run off the corner. Bernard Persson tried to close the door, but Bobby was there.
He tried to close the door, Jared, but I think it's not going to work as Bobby Terrell pulls alongside at the line. Still going to be Bernard Persson. Terrell going to have to make it work in 1 and 2 if he's going to get around the 8.
Bobby Terrell hasn't won. He only won 1 race this year. He had one taken at the last lap, at the last turn at Atlanta. Didn't get that win. did end up winning at a 1.5 miler later on in the season, but right now he is battling to try to clinch his rightful place, what he feels his rightful place in the championship 4. He is looking on underneath Bernard Persson, still side by side through 3 and 4. Dale Nearad coming back into the fray.
And Jared, these drivers running side by side is actually kind of hurting them. Terrell going to lead that lap, finally get around the 8 and cleared going into 1. But this actually hurts them. If you look now, 4th place is kind of went from 3 seconds behind them to now a 1.5 seconds. So cut that lead into half for Darren Bruce in the 06.
Yeah, 0.3 of a second quicker for Darren Bruce because of all that battling than these guys. Chuck Sweeting also in that group. So is Sher Williford, Troy Torgerson. Casey Mullen continuing to move forward. He is up to 8th place. So, Chris, 5 to 6 laps, I'm expecting these drivers to come in. That's a 2-stopper, but will the 3-stopper? Brian Helm, the only playoff driver electing to do a 3-stopper tonight. Man, this is going to be a huge gamble for the 26 machine.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting. Right now, he's got Dean Doucette actually right in front of him. Dean Doucette would be your leader if we actually cycle through this pit stop. But Brian Helm right there with him as well.
They go underneath Sherwood Williford. That's not a battle for position. Sherwood lets them go. Josh Johnson on pit road. These guys all trying to get back onto the lead lap. The guys we saw before, Solari, Lang, all those guys got from 1 lap down to 2 laps down. So that's where they're at right now. Terrell got around Bernard Persson. He has stretched out that lead to 0.5 second as he's coming up on James Torrey. Torrey, the last driver on lead lap, in 20th position, which would have been the de facto driver. Torrey goes to the high side with that connection issue and lets these guys go.
And looking at the lap times, the last time for your leader, Bobby Terrell, was a 31.63. Go back to Dean Doucette was a 30.2. So that just shows how much faster those drivers are with the fresher tires. It's only just a matter of time. You guessed they'd be coming around this lap here, Jared. We'll have to see if Bobby Terrell leads these 3 drivers down the pit lane.
Well, one of them has... Yeah, one of the lead lap driver, one of the playoff drivers on the pit road, Dale Nearad in. Wayne Grossi also joining him along with Mike Watts. So those 3 drivers are now on pit road. Terrell continues to stay out. So does Bernard Persson. But there you see it, Chris. Dean Doucette is coming quick.
Yeah, right now it's not for position as he's just trying to get his lap back. But he is all over Bernard Persson. Bernard Persson goes a little bit high, lets Dean Doucette get underneath him. Now he'll set his eyes on your leader of Bobby Terrell, and right there behind him, Brian Helm in the 26.
This is a huge battle for these guys as that really separated out Bobby Terrell as Bernard Persson has had to get out of the gas and let those 3 drivers, and now Darren Bruce on pit road after getting passed by Chuck Sweeting. So another driver down pit road, Sherwood Williford on pit road. Chris, now the window's open. These guys can pretty much pit at any time here. What would be the incentive to stay out longer?
At this point, it's just so that way you have more fuel at the end of the race and a little bit fresher tires. That's what those drivers are kind of hoping for, at least Bobby Terrell, as now Brian Helm and Dean Doucette have gotten their laps back. And now Terrell going to make his way to pit road with Bernard Persson right behind him.
Chuck Sweeting. Look at Chuck Sweeting. Hard on the brakes. And what a pit entry for Chuck Sweeting, who might have thrust himself into the conversation of race win. That's going to turn the lead over to Casey Mullen. He's going to pick up a bonus point, which could always be crucial in that playoff chase. TJ Bartel also staying out. He is about 3 seconds behind Casey McMullen here. Ralph Nolen Jr. stays out. He is back there now, and he is definitely not having the night to remember in that 95 machine. Those are the only 3 drivers that have not pitted, Chris.
And looking through your field here, Dean Doucette currently scored 4th, so he will end up taking the lead of this race after all of this cycles out. That's just showing what those fresh tires will do. But now it's been about 10 laps since he pit. What will these drivers who just pit be able to do lap time wise?
Oh, Bobby Terrell held up behind a lap car. That is Steve Loomis coming out of the pits and not up to speed. Bobby Terrell is losing time there, and it looks like Dean Doucette and Brian Helm well ahead of this group, as is Dale Nearad. Wow.
And Jared, I think that was a little bit to be expected because of how much faster Dean was. on them. It'll be interesting to see, though, as we go this long green flag run, if these drivers are able to get back up there and pass Dean Doucette as quickly as Dean was able to make his way up towards the front. But right now, still Casey McMullen, TJ Bartell, Ralph Nolen yet to pit.
Yeah, they are right now, Chris, on the interval tracker here. Bobby Terrell 13 and a half seconds behind Dean Doucette right now. Dean Doucette expecting to come back into pit road here in the next 20 to 25 laps here, and TJ Bartell down pit road in the number 88 machine making his pit stop. That's going to move Ralph Nolen to second place. I think Ralph is wanting to stay out as long as he can to maybe pick up a bonus point as you see Wayne Grossi and Richie Coy go underneath them, or he just is kind of praying for a caution at this point.
Yeah, but it's a little bit of a gambling move here as Casey McMullen still leads him around here. He's still 7 seconds behind Casey McMullen, and Dean Doucette is only 9 seconds behind Nolen. So if anything happens, he may not be able to even get that lap led just to how fast Dean Doucette is.
Now, one stopper, it seems unrealistic. It seems impossible as Ralph Nolen Jr. comes down pit road. But to hypothetically, a one stopper would mean these guys would have to make it to lap 84. So 22 more laps for Casey Mullen if he wants to try a one stopper. I don't think that's going to happen for him.
No, that's a little bit too unrealistic, as he's now fighting that car, just trying to get it around here to complete lap 63. He's getting drivers that are passing him left and right, not necessarily drivers that are in contention for the win. But Jared, honestly, I think this is going to be quite a big gamble for the 71. I don't see him being able to get up here and make up all this time that he's currently losing.
Yeah, I don't know what the gamble, what the vig is here for Casey Mullen, because as I said, unless he can stretch this thing to lap 84, Casey Mullen is a driver that can figure out a way to save fuel, save tires, and just save equipment. And if there's a guy out in this field that can do it, it's Casey Mullen. But 20 more laps to make it on a one-stopper, I just don't think that's possible.
Even if it is, Jared, he's going to end up messing himself over with how far behind he is. He's running a 32.6. The Dean Doucette behind him is running a 31 flat, and then back farther behind, Nirad in the 03 is running a 30 flat. So it's a 2-second difference between him and the drivers who just came out of the pits about 4 or 5 laps ago.
And you'll see the last lap times there on the left-hand side of your screen in the timing tower, and you see Casey at 32.33, Dean Doucette 31 flat. Look down at Bobby Terrell 29.86. So there you go, and you see Gil Gach going underneath Casey Mullen to get his lap back. But Chris, I mean, at this point in time, if you can make it to lap 84 or ish, I think you have to do it. I mean, that would be one hell of a strategy if he's able to pull that off, and could easily punch his ticket to the round of 4.
Jared, if Casey McMullen wins with this strategy and stays out, makes this a 2-lap race, I'll buy your lunch tomorrow, because there's no way he's going to be able to make this work. It's a great strategy. Kudos for trying it, but that's still a long ways away, and he's still a second slower than the field.
Oh, I'll take you up on that lunch. I want filet mignon. Casey Mullen.
Well, if he does it, well, nope, he's going to pit this lap, Jared. I'm safe, but he made it all the way to lap 66. That's pretty incredible with the amount of time that he was losing there. It'd be interesting to see if he's able to come out here and run the 29s like Bobby Terrell, if he's able to get up and make the time up. But it seems like he's going to have to go for a very long stretch if he's going to make it work.
Yeah, it looks like the projection is for him to come out in about 19th position here. So that's going to turn the lead over to Dean Doucette, who's just gotten passed by Ralph Nolen Jr., who pitted just a few laps before Casey Mullen there. Dean Doucette back in the lead, a 1.4 second gap to Brian Helm. Those guys pitted on lap 42. Probably looking at a 3-stop total race. That's going to be interesting to see if that plays out. Then we have pretty much the rest of the field on a 2-stopper with varying degrees of how long they're going to stay out or what that strategy is going to be like. So we'll see how that plays out. But right now, the next guy's up on the 2-stopper, Chris, is going to be Dale Nirad. He's about 2.8 seconds behind. As you see Casey Mullen merging out on the track right now, and he's actually going to be 28th right now as everything cycles through. So not a great pit stop for the 71.
No, it's not. He now needs to make it to lap 132 before his next pit stop, Jared. That's pretty significant ways to go. Still, if he's going to keep on that strategy. But who knows? We could end up with a caution here in the next couple of laps, put him back on the same strategy as everyone else, with a little bit fresher tires, and he could steal the win because of it.
Not quite at halfway yet, but we look at the rest of this field. Dale Nearad pitted 3 laps sooner than Bobby Terrell. They are catching Dale Nearad quite a bit, as you see Dale Nearad actually going ahead and passing Brian Helm, so move Brian Helm back to 3rd place. That number 26 machine definitely not handling the way he wants it to tonight, and he is probably penciling in all of his hopes on Martinsville, where he has been very good in all the other series here at FTSR.
And Jared, looking at lap times, Dean Doucette up there as your leader, running at 31.35 now, whereas Dale Nearad in 2nd place running at 30.75. So he's a little bit faster, almost just over a second and a half faster than your leader. He's going to be there pretty soon.
Yeah, and you look at this, I mean, man, Dean Doucette is losing time. I mean, you can already see the lap times there and the gap. It's down to 2 seconds now. But look who's asserted himself in this group. Darren Bruce in the 06 machine. Chris, we've talked about him. He's had some strong runs. Now, he's not a playoff driver. Came in the season way too late. But Darren Bruce looking like maybe a dark horse in a victory tonight.
That he is, and really doing a really good job here tonight. He actually came out in front of, I believe, Bobby Terrell and Richie Cool or Dale Nearad, and they were able to get around him. But for a moment, he would be your 2nd place position here. So don't count that 06 out. He's definitely showing that he's got some potential here later in this season. And Jared, he's got nothing to worry about. He can be as aggressive as he wants the entire race, because it doesn't end his season at all.
Exactly right, Chris. But as we talked about before, every driver, the guys, when we say they don't have anything to race for, we mean they don't have, points position or things like that. Of course, they're out here to win races or have good runs. But the other thing is, for a lot of these drivers, the top 35 in points is a real thing, and Darren Bruce is below that. Right now, that's held by Gil Goch, 354 points. Darren Bruce right now, he has 239 points, so he is, about 80 points outside of that top 35. So he still is fighting to get that, as we have a change for the lead on screen, Chris.
That we do. It happened pretty easily in the corner. Dean Doucette not able to hold it back. Dale Nearad. Nearad goes around, so does the 5 of Bobby Terrell and Darren Bruce. Now Bernard Persson sets his sights on Dean Doucette, and those 4 drivers, they are definitely got a little bit more speed than Dean Doucette, as he gets wicked loose coming out of 2.
Boy, did he get loose. I mean, that car was looking at the apron 3 wide in front of him. Chad Lang, one of those drivers that pitted earlier, he's going back a lap down now in 28th position.
And again, Dean Doucette completely sideways coming out of the corner, treating it like a drift around that exit of turn 4. That's going to hurt his tires all that much more, as now we got 3 wide right here with your leaders.
Boy, oh boy, look at all the battling going on track. We got everything going on 4 wide as Darren Bruce goes for the lead. And he backs out of it, but my goodness, that was crazy as Randall Ballard kind of stacked everybody up, and Tony Solari, guys that were going a lap down there. Darren Bruce looked like he was going to make it through there, but he decided to let out of the throttle, and Dale Nearad going to stay in the lead right now with Bobby Terrell in 2nd. Nearad slides up the track.
And the 74 of, I believe that's Tony Solari, actually got into the wall when he was right beside your 2nd place runner. That just showed just how crazy this race was happening with, I believe that was Jason Spear as well in that 3 wide battle, making things certainly interesting up here as we got everyone on different strategies. Now Terrell looking for the lead.
Bobby Terrell to the lead. We also had a very interesting pit entry by Steven Vroom, and he was able to get that car slowed down and on pit road, but it was not pretty, and I thought maybe we were going to have a caution. But Bobby Terrell to the lead. Darren Bruce can't quite follow Dale Nearad in, and by doing so, that's going to open the door for Bernard Persson. And Darren Bruce closes the door, but oh my goodness, right across the bumper, Dale Nearad. This is a heck of a battle up here, Chris.
Yes, it is. Way closer than when we started our green flag pit stops here with these 4 drivers, and really it was 3 drivers up until this point. Darren Bruce really making a move to get up here and really saved a lot of time on pit strategy. Actually getting on and off pit road is where he made up the majority of his time to these leaders. Now he's up here fighting for a podium position with these playoff drivers, kind of trying to play spoiler on them.
So, Chris, if you had to give Darren Bruce some advice, you see him get right up on the bumper of Dale Nearad. He knows it's time to go. He's going to get that position or get underneath of Dale Nearad. You're not racing. You're racing for the top 35. You're racing for wins. But we don't, we've covered him here on Full Throttle TV. He races in another league, very successful there. But Darren Bruce is kind of new to this league. So how do you go about, as a driver that's not really been up front in most of these races, a couple times here and there, how do you kind of temper yourself and kind of not try to get too worked up by running in second right now?
That's a good question, Jared. I don't know that you can. I think at this point you can see the lead. You want to go for it as much as you possibly can. It's something to say. I mean, really, it's going to keep the playoffs interesting if he can get up there and get around Terrell, just making it that much harder for these drivers not being able to lock themselves into that championship race. So really, if I'm Darren Bruce, I can see the win. I can see it right in front of me with that 5 car. I'm going to do every possible thing that I can do to get up there and make this interesting, make these guys work for it. I mean, it's all about the bragging rights. It's all about being able to come out here as a winner and really establish yourself, and that's what he's going to look to do in that 06 car.
Bobby Terrell leading right now, getting some valuable laps as he tries to get the most laps led here tonight. Right now, that's held by Dean Doucette. So that's going to be interesting because that's 2 bonus points. If he ends up not winning, that could be very crucial in the playoff race. Darren Bruce in second. He is not a playoff driver, the only one in the top 4 right now, and Dale Nearad has dropped to 4th as his teammate Bernard Persson gets underneath them. Stalking this group is Chuck Sweeting. He is in 5th place, up 15 positions. Then you have Dean Doucette, who's on that potential 3-stop strategy. We'll probably see him if he's going to do the 3-stopper here in the next 5 laps or so. Behind him, Troy Torgerson. Brian Helm has dropped to 8th place. Then we have Sherwood Williford and Brody Hanna. And wow, Tony Solari very loose off the back straightaway. Nearly gets into Brian Helm. That 74 car not handling very good right now. And I think he's trying to get out of the way, but nearly could have brought out a caution with how loose that car was off the corner.
Yeah, Jared, he had caught up into the outside wall going down the straightaway a couple laps earlier, so that car definitely going a little bit tight, probably due to some damage earlier where he was going 3 wide with your leaders as trying just to get out of the way, just not able to do so. Looking at lap times, they've kind of balanced out now. Dean Doucette running a 31.4 and your leader running a 31.1, so really that strategy's kind of playing out to him. He's kind of made himself a little bit comfortable here in 6th at the moment. And does not have to worry too much because he's got a little bit of a gap between him and Troy Torgerson.
Well, you look at Brian Helm, who also pitted. He was running a 31.7, so Brian Helm, maybe that strategy not working out as well for him, but it's going to be interesting to see who comes in. We do know Stephen Vrooman, Donnie Staubitz, Brandon Elder have pulled their cars to the garage. So we start with 34. We are down to 31.
As Brian Helm is going to be the first driver out of that bunch to make it to the pit road, and he locked it up completely, all 4 tires to get down to speed, and looks like he's going to be able to maintain pit speed there and not get a penalty. But wow, he was trying to get all he could, Jared.
I think he got every inch he could get. He was very out of control entering the pits. Jason Spear, his teammate, also on pit road. We'll have to check and see if Dean Doucette elects to come in. He does not look like he is going to do so. So nobody else, Chris. I'm kind of surprised. We got Tony Solari coming on pit road. He's back from 27th position. So not really a surprise there with the way that car has been handling. But nobody else really taking up the opportunity right now.
Not yet. I think it'll be about another lap or so before we start seeing them. I believe Dean Doucette may be coming in this lap. Give a little bit of a leeway to the cars behind him. And yep, there it is. He's going to come down this lap as well. And he really did everything he could. Did not seem to lock his tires up near as bad as Brian Helm, but definitely was doing everything he could to get as much of it out of it as he could. And a couple guys coming with him, Schultz as well.
Kenneth Schultz pitting from 25th and James Torrey pitting from 30th, all on pit road currently. Bobby Terrell still leading. You look at the other drivers that pitted around that time. Lane Allen pitted on 47. He He's really the only other driver. Him and Rachel Hunt could be the next ones up. And Chuck Sweeting gets Bernard Person super loose to the tri-oval. Bernard Person does a great job holding on to it, but Sweeting is all over the back of the 8 car.
And Sweeney making this a 5-car breakaway out of this bunch. He's showing a little bit of speed here. His last lap time, Jared, was a 31.1, whereas your leader was with 31.2. So he's a little bit faster at the moment. You can see it as he's getting right up to Bernard Person out of the exit of the corner.
Dean Doucette down away, so is James Torrey. No penalties to report on pit road. All that going on. Go ahead.
Right now, Terrell kind of maintaining a little bit of distance between him and Darren Bruce. At the moment, it stands at almost a 4/10 of a second lead. Chuck Sweeney going to look to the outside of Bernard Person. Thinks better of it, gets back in line.
Ooh.
But he is all over there.
God.
Good Lord, he has completely got a handful with that 75 car trying to get around Person. Loses a little bit of time. He's going to have to gather it back up and maintain that focus to catch back up to the back of Bernard Person.
Chris, both of those drivers, Bernard Person got a little wiggle loose first, and then Chuck Sweeting's car thought that was a good idea and did the same exact thing. My goodness, good driving by both those drivers here in 3rd and 4th position. Chuck Sweeting, he is also battling. We talked about the top 35. Chuck Sweeting right now in 36, 3 points out. So he is very much fighting for the top 35 as well. But with the result like this tonight, he would be inside the top 35.
And Darren Bruce in that 06 kind of fallen off the last couple of laps. Bernard Person going to look to the outside of him. And, oh, Bernard Person got into the wall.
Bernard Person smacks the wall coming out of turn number 2, trying to go to the high side, and that car just got a little bit loose. Now Chuck Sweeting goes to the outside. Little side drive from the 75. Bernard Person dirt chiking through the corner, and he is going to lose the spot to Chuck Sweeting.
And man, oh man, Jared, that was an incredible moment there for Bernard Person. Not only that, but then that next corner, as Sweeney was to his outside, he was getting wicked loose, and Chuck Sweeney now getting loose in front of him. These drivers, they have a huge handful in these cars right now, Jared.
Chris, and I think that little bump, I don't think that was intentional by Bernard Person, but that is going to put a little damage. I see the hood, looking out the back of Chuck Sweeting's machine, I see the hood is a little bit crinkled. That's not good at a track that's aero-dependent like Texas.
No, it's not, and especially when you're making these green flag pit stops. Now he needs to stay tucked in behind that 75 machine and whoever he's around the rest of the night. But you can already see it. Del Nirad closing in on that 8 machine. He's going to have a little bit better speed if it looks like Bernard Person is not able to stay in the wake of the 75.
And that car, it doesn't look like it's handling good. Don't know if it's because of the damage that he has on the front of that car. What happened basically, if you missed it on the screen, Chuck Sweeting got loose, Bernard Person was right there, and you see it on board, Chris. That is a lot of damage to the front of that car.
Yeah, it is, Jared. Now you're going to have to worry about whether or not your car is going to overheat. That's one issue that Bernard Person may face here tonight. Not something that he wants to be dealing with, as he knows very well that his championship hopes are kind of reliant on this race and next week at Kansas plus Martinsville. You want to be able to go into those races with a little bit of cushion. Right now, he's going to have to be worrying about that the rest of this race.
And that could do him in as far as a race victory goes. And you got to look right now. It is Bobby Terrell and then 2 non-playoff drivers chase him down. Darren Bruce fell off for a little bit, Chris. You talked about that. But all of a sudden, he's kind of picked it up when he saw that blue and black 75 car coming.
That he did. Looking at the lap times, Jared, Bernard Person's kind of fallen off about a tenth, almost 2 tenths on those drivers around him. It's kind of interesting that Del Nirad right now is electing to stay behind him.
Del Nirad in this group, and we talk a lot about the championship standings coming in. Bernard Person and Dale Nirad tied at the top. Bobby Terrell 1 point behind. But these guys were quite a ways ahead of Casey McMullen, Brody Hanna, Ralph Nolen, Wayne Grossi, and Brian Helms. So they're running 4th and 5th. Let's not act like their championship hopes are over because of where they're running right now, because that's definitely not the case.
Far from it, as these drivers, they're really doing everything they possibly can, Jared, to get up here and stay up here. And these 5 up here have really done it the best. Chuck Sweeney, though, he is incredibly fast in that 3rd position. I kind of expect that he's going to be taking away that 2nd position here any lap.
We saw it on Thursday night in the Xfinity Series. You see Dale Nearad in the distance looking underneath his teammate. Doesn't quite get there. Oh, Bobby Terrell loose. Bobby Terrell really loose. Bobby Terrell almost wrecking it. Holy cow.
Holy moly. What an incredible move there by Bobby Terrell to save that car. That was the championship save from that number 5 machine. There was nothing that he could do. He was just in the wrong place, got down to that apron, got that car sideways, and great job by him to stay out of the wall there, and even with a little bit of help from Darren Bruce, who now resumes the lead.
Let's take a look at a replay real quick on this one because it is something to behold. As you see, Darren Bruce there. Bobby Terrell way loose. That car is already loose through the middle of the corner. Darren Bruce doesn't touch him. I don't know how he didn't hit him. Or if he did, it was very light. Chuck Sweeting didn't hit Darren Bruce. Good job by all those drivers, but my goodness, what a save by Bobby Terrell. He does lose a lot of time. Drops to 5th there.
Loses a lot of time, but Jared, it does not matter. He saved that car from being destroyed, and that would have made a very difficult situation for him next week heading into Kansas. And all that now has a non-playoff driver up here leading with another one right behind him. Your top 2 non-playoff drivers looking to spoil the fun on these playoff drivers here tonight.
And we saw that at the Roval. The top 3 finishers, non-playoff drivers tonight. The top 2 currently non-playoff drivers. Darren Bruce in 42nd in points. Chuck Sweeting in 36th in points. Both those drivers trying to fight in to get into the top 35 for next season's Cup Series. The top 35 will be locked into the field for the first race at Daytona. So it's very crucial for these guys to get out here and race and be competitive. And what a race they are putting on. Darren Bruce leading his 3rd race of the year since he's joined the league. Chuck Sweeting, man, he has been on fire, and he has already won a couple races himself. But can he spoil some playoff or a first-time winner in the Cup Series? Darren Bruce in front of him. We'll find out. 66 to go. We still have another pit stop for a majority of this field.
That we do. Terrell losing about 6/10 on these top 4 drivers now. He's going to have a lot of room to make up. He's got Torrey behind him with that little bit of fresher tires as he's going to look to get around him and get back up here and try to get one of his laps back. Bobby Terrell is going to look to do whatever he can to kind of follow in his wake once that number 2 passes him.
The crucial thing for Bobby Terrell is he did not get any damage. Darren Bruce did not hit him. And nobody ran into him. So very good job. You look at the back end of that car, looks clean. Everything looks good. I mean, I do see a little damage, so maybe Darren Bruce did get into him a little bit.
Into him, Jared. There's a little bit of wrinkle in that spoiler, making it a little bit higher up in the air, but it's not terrible. It's not that bad. It may not be too much damage for him, as we see Lane Allen coming off of pit road in the 14, but still going to make things that much more difficult because the way this race is trending, Jared, we're not going to have a caution for these drivers, for Bernard Persson or Bobby Terrell, to fix these cars. That could play a little bit of a key into this race, as Nearad, the only playoff driver right now in your top 5 that doesn't have some kind of damage.
Yeah, I was looking at the front end of Darren Bruce, and that's why I didn't think Darren Bruce maybe hit him. I don't see anything on the front of that car like we do with Bernard Persson when Chuck Sweeting got loose in front of him. So I think maybe some net code happened there, possibly. I don't know. We didn't really get a good view of it, but I don't see a lot on the 06. But not much you could do when the car is completely sideways in front of you there in just a split second. So Darren Bruce leading, Chuck Sweeting second. Persson, Nearad, Terrell, your top 5. We look back at 6th place. That's Troy Torgerson. Still out here cooking, still out here trying to finish the season out strong in 6th place, followed by Sherwood Williford. And then Brody Hanna in 8th, Richie Coy in 9th, and Mike Watts, who is fast at the beginning of the race. He has worked his way into the top 10 for the first time tonight with his teammate TJ Bartel right behind him in tow. Chris, we look at some of these other playoff drivers. Wayne Grossi in 14th position right now. He has quietly moved himself up into the top 15, but our mysterious pit strategy, Casey Mullen, is right behind him, cooking him down right now.
Yeah, Casey McMullen with those a little bit fresher tires, putting down a little bit better lap time than Wayne Grossi. But right now, Wayne Grossi's made up 10 positions, Jared, on the field here tonight, getting himself up into the 14th position. He's kind of doing it. He's just doing it pretty slow.
He's doing a good job, and a solid night is what he needs. But unfortunately, the guys that he's kind of racing around, I mean, he is in front of Casey McMullen. He is in front of Ralph Nolen. He's in front of Brian Helm. But he's behind Brody Hanna. He's behind Nearad, Persson, and Terrell, and Brody Hanna. So, I mean, that's tough for him. kind of in the middle of our playoff drivers. We look at our last playoff drivers here. Ralph Nolen, he pitted on 61. He's in 19th position. Dean Doucette is kind of clipping him down. Dean obviously pitted on lap 86. And then Brian Helm, who pitted on lap 84, also in this group. They're in heavy traffic with our race leaders right now.
And Jared, looking up at your top two drivers, they've kind of pulled away from Bernard Person. Person dealing with a little bit of issue on that front nose. And you can actually see right behind Dale Nearad, Dean Doucette looking to get his lap back after taking that pit stop at lap 86, I think it was. Really trying to make this strategy work here. And he's going to be getting his lap back here within the next couple of laps. If he's able to do so, he needs to be able to get up there and pass these drivers within the next 6 laps, as it looks like about 7 more laps they're going to be looking to come down, as now Sweeting looks to take over the lead.
Chuck Sweeting, as you were talking there, Chris, Chuck Sweeting to the lead. He's going to lead his first laps tonight. That's 7 drivers that have led a lap so far here tonight. Sweeting goes through the grass and got a little bit bouncy coming back on it, but he is going to maintain the lead. These guys 1 second ahead of Bernard Person, Bobby Terrell, Dale Nearad. Oh, Lane Allen shoves it down in there. Holy cow. I don't think Dale Nearad saw him, and Lane Allen went through, maybe because he's blinking. That might have been why that was such a shocking move for Dale Nearad. But Lane Allen moving forward with those fresh tires, and he's opening up a big hole for these guys to follow through.
And Darren Bruce is going to come down the pit road here. And Jared, he got sideways completely in the middle of that corner. I don't think that anyone but him knew he was coming.
Darren Bruce, I like the call to come in before all the other leaders do. Get yourself out there in that position. Josh Johnson also, his teammate, coming on pit road. Mike Watts in this 3 on pit road. That car looking good coming down. Very close to being on the edge, as Chuck Sweeting continuing to lead in the 75 machine. Bernard Person second, Dale Nearad. Terrell, your top 3. And you look, Chris, right now, Dean Doucette, Lane Allen, those guys trying to get their laps back. Lane Allen 2 laps down currently. Dean Doucette 1 lap down, as we now have 16 cars on the lead lap. And Chris, you know, you look at it, Ralph Nolen Jr. abandoned his launch strategy. He has come down pit road, and now he is leaving pit road. So he has decided to short pit his second run.
And Jared, looking up here at Dean Doucette, he's getting to that point in the race where he's getting very loose coming out of the corners again. And that's making him lose a little bit of time. Able to get his lap back right now as he passed Sweeney coming out of turn 4. But that's going to make it that much more interesting, as we know he's electing to pit one more time still with all these other drivers. So it seems to be like that's not going to be a race-winning strategy at the moment, just because of how these drivers are able to get back up. But he may end up being about 3rd, 4th, which could be a good net for him.
And we'll have to see how it all plays out. Chuck Sweeting in the 75 coming to pit road as the race leader. My goodness, I don't know. That was awfully quick.
Down to speed. Congratulations, because that was an impressive entry to pit road, Jared. That 75 was squirrely the entire time as he was trying to slow it down.
And we'll find out. And Bernard Person, we jump back on board the leader. He is dirt tracking through turn 1 and 2, Chris. That handling is gone in that number 8 machine.
And that's okay, Jared, because he's going to be coming down pit road probably the next lap. That'll be 57-57, and Sweeney did not actually speed on the entrance. So congrats to him in that 75 machine. Just a real aggressive entry to pit road.
Wow, good job by Chuck Sweeting. He is down and away. Looking at all of our pit lane times so far, nobody penalized throughout this race, if you can believe that. No penalties on pit road right now at this time. Brody Hanna down and away. But continuing to lead, Richie Coy, TJ Bartel, and Gil Goff all down pit road. And there he is. Casey McMullen just continuing to move his way back to the front, Chris.
That he does. Now Bernard Person is going to come to pit road. Right behind him, Bobby Terrell. And Terrell making an aggressive entry to pit road there. Made up a lot of time on Bernard Person.
Person and Terrell in. We'll stay with this as Casey McMullen's quite a ways back right now. As these guys enter pit road, you'll see Gil Goff, TJ Bartel down and away. A couple other drivers down and away. There is Bobby Terrell entering pit road, Gil Goff down and away. Casey McMullen just now coming across right about now. So that's how far ahead these guys were of Casey McMullen.
Now Casey McMullen has Dean Doucette in second place here. Brian Helm behind them. But then right behind Helm now the '06 of Darren Bruce.
Darren Bruce, with that undercut pitting, he is 4 seconds ahead of, or 5 seconds ahead of Chuck Sweeting, and about 6 seconds behind Casey Mullen, about 2 seconds behind Dean Doucette. So Darren Bruce, with that short pit, can this pay off for Darren Bruce as he's looking for his first career FTSR Cup Series win in the 06 machine? We'll find out as we are down to 52 laps to go. And he's already caught second place Brian Helm. And Helm super loose through the corner, but now he's kind of stuck behind Gil Gach, and he can't really do anything, but looks like he's going to be able to get through there as Gil Gach is running back in 17th position, last car on the lead lap. Or first car, one lap down, apologies.
What an incredible job by the '06, being aggressive, getting on the pit road, coming down a little bit earlier. That's going to give him the lead. You can actually see Dean Doucette right there in front of him. He goes underneath him right there. Now he's up to second, and on the same straightaway as your leader, Dean Doucette, completely sideways, coming out of 2, Jared.
Wow, Dean Doucette not having the night on the handling on that car, and I'm surprised that that team didn't make some tire pressure adjustments or something. He is dirt tracking through 3 and 4. I mean, that car is loose.
And it's interesting that he's that loose, Jared, because he's actually out here less time than everyone else with that extra stop on the tires.
And Brian Helm's in now.
And it seems like that would make him a little bit less loose as this race goes along, but not the case here tonight.
Not the case at all, and you see Brian Helm coming in pit road. So the third stop for these 3-stop drivers is underway, and we'll see how that plays out. Brian Helm, the biggest one to lose. Dean Doucette can gamble. I mean, he's still racing to finish in the top 10 in points. I know he would love to do that. Still racing for wins, but at the end of the day, Dean Doucette, he can play kind of an off strategy here tonight. Brian Helm, I think that's a massive gamble for Brian Helm to take that swing.
Yeah, definitely a massive gamble, and I don't think it's going to pay out as now Darren Bruce gets around Casey McMullen, put the '06 back in the lead, Jared.
06 to the lead, 4 seconds, 40, looks like a 48 laps to go. So this is going to be interesting. Casey Mullen down on pit road right now. So McMullen making his second stop. So now we're going to get to see how everything cycles out, Chris. And I think this is going to be the telltale sign if the 3-stop strategy works for Brian Helm and Dean Doucette.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see. Problem is, Jared, I don't think they're going to have enough time. At this point, they would need to pit as soon as possible and then hope that the lap times are going to be that much drastically different. Problem is, I don't see that it's going to be with just the 5 to 6 lap difference between stops.
Well, the other thing, too, Dean Doucette is awfully loose. And if he can stretch this thing out just a little bit, he doesn't have to take a full tank of gas, and that car will tighten up with less fuel. So that could be something he's kind of looking at, and he might be able to... Oh, my goodness, that car is literally dirt tracking through 1 and 2 right now.
Yeah, Jared, there's no way the 29 is going to stay out. I mean, I'm watching him lap after lap getting sideways, and he's not running the low line. He's running that middle to upper groove where you don't have to put near as much wheel in it, and he's still getting sideways coming out of the corners.
Unbelievable how difficult that 29 car is to drive tonight. We look at how things have cycled around. Casey Mullen will cycle around to 21st. He is ahead of Brian Helm. So Casey Mullen on a 2-stopper, pitted 2 laps later than Brian Helm, and he is ahead of Brian Helm. That is not good for the 26 machine, who did a 3-stopper, but it is interesting that these guys kind of have came out at the same spot. We'll see what they can do. They have the freshest tires in the field right now. Dean Doucette, the oldest set of tires, pitted on lap 86. Nobody else has pitted inside the 100 mark that's still in the race, besides Jason Spear and Tony Solari, who are back several laps down in 25th and 26th position.
And right now, Troy Torgerson is trying to fight with Bernard Persson and Bobby Terrell here as they've closed up that gap to him. It's just an interesting strategy with these drivers as they're also catching up to Dean Doucette, and now Bernard Persson going to look to the inside. Just Dean Doucette can't get the run out of the corner like these drivers with the fresher tires. I
think Dean's got to pit as soon as possible, or I mean maybe he's just praying for a caution. I'm not sure, but man, that car is just unbelievably loose. And I mean I've watched Dean race for many years, or many seasons I should say, only a couple years, and I've never seen him drive a car this loose. So I know he's definitely not enjoying his time at Texas right now.
Absolutely, and I think you're right. I think he's hoping for a caution. get up here to lap maybe 35, 135, 140 with just 25 laps to go somewhere in there, and then a caution come out, that would help him tremendously because he'll have the ability to go in and get those tires and kind of be on the same strategy as everyone else. Problem is, Jared, he's going to be pitting with everyone else because if caution comes out, I'm coming to pit road to get those tires.
And the other thing to mention too, Dean Doucette, if this becomes, we've seen these races go green, we have one caution, then everybody just kind of amps up their intensity because they have a restart. They don't have very many laps. Dean Doucette, if he can play this right and we do get a caution, he does have that extra set on everybody else. So that's something to think about as we move forward here.
And Jared, looking back up at your leader, Darren Bruce, he kind of had about a 4-second lead over Chuck Sweeney when he came out of the pits. That's down to 2.5 seconds now. Chuck Sweeney's reeling in Darren Bruce here pretty quickly. I think if he can get there, Chuck Sweeney may have the faster car. He's going to, well, he definitely has the faster car at the moment. It's just going to be a matter or not if he's able to keep those tires underneath the car and not wear them out.
Dean Doucette heading to pit road in the 29 machine. Chuck Sweeney kind of stuck behind some lap traffic. Tony Solari there and Lane Allen. That is not a battle for position in front of him. That's 16th and 27th. Lane Allen also disappearing. So this is actually slowing down Chuck Sweeney quite a bit here as Darren Bruce is able to kind of claw some time back on that last lap. Dale Nearad cycles to 3rd place right now. Bernard Person to 4th, Bobby Terrell to 5th. Jason Spear, who's just came out of the pits, back on track. He is in 27th position there, or 30th, apologies. So Jason Spear trying to make some positions up. But you look at these drivers, Chris, and the way they are lining up, 13 drivers on the lead lap. Wayne Grossi, the first car, 1 lap down right now.
That he is. And looking at your lap times from the last couple of laps, Darren Bruce actually was able to pull a little bit of a gap on Sweeney. Sweeney kind of got out of rhythm there with those lap cars. May have overheated his tires a little bit. Going to have to cool them off to be able to get back up here and make up some time on Darren Bruce as he's pulled away. That gap that was 2.5 seconds is now 2.8.
2.8 seconds. You see it there on your screen. Dean Doucette is back out on the track in 23rd position. 2 laps down. What can he do? Or 1 lap down, apologies, to Dean Doucette. He is 1 lap down in 23rd position. What can he do? What about Ralph Nolen, Casey Mullen, and Brian Helm? Those guys all kind of wrapped around 18th, 19th, and 20th. Not the nights they're wanting, but with the fresher tires, can they make a move forward? And what about Wayne Grossi in 14th position? What can he do as the race goes on? We haven't talked a lot about Brody Hanna. He has been very quiet since the opening stanza of this race, up in 8th place. He's kind of in no man's land, about 2 seconds behind and in front of him right now. As we got a little bit battling back here, Richie Coy and Mike Watts blocking down the back straightaway, and Richie Coy is going to get that move done eventually. But these guys going at it for some positions.
Yeah, going here for the 9th and 10th position. These two really doing whatever they possibly can to get in front of each other. Coy knows just how much a point matters here in this series, looking to get up here and get it away from Mike Watts. But incredible night by Mike Watts to be up here in the top 10. Also, you mentioned that Brody Hanna is kind of having a quiet night. It's kind of the night that he needs, though, Jared. He's kind of staying up here in the top 8 positions here with only 3 drivers in front of him that are in the playoffs. It's kind of, it may be quiet, but kind of put himself in a better position for the points.
Yeah, and you look at those 3 drivers. Dale Nearad and Bernard Person came in as the joint leaders of the standings, and whoa, Brody Hanna lose through 1 and 2 there. And then Bobby Terrell was 1 point behind, so not a lot of separation going on with those 3 drivers. 4th place was Casey Mullen. He had a 1-point lead on Brody Hanna coming in. Right now, Brody Hanna would move into 4th place, Wayne Grossi to 5th, Casey Mullen to 6th, then Ralph Nolen, then Brian Helm in 7th and 8th is how we'd line up heading into Kansas if the race was to end right now.
Yeah, based on the points earned so far here tonight, if it were to finish, Brody Hanna would be netting 8 points on Casey McMullen here. Casey McMullen did lead a lap here tonight, which is why it's not more.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, but 8 points is huge when he came in 1 point behind right now. And then you look at Wayne Grossi. He came in 4 points behind Casey Mullen, Chris, and now he is netting a positive 4 points on Casey Mullen. So those guys right now looking at pretty much being tied. Same with Ralph Nolen Jr. and Brian Helm kind of losing out right now as the strategy goes. Dean Doucette all up on Brody Hanna, and he is going to go around the outside. Brody's going to let him go.
That he is. So now looking at it, you've got Dean Doucette that's still on that kind of varying strategy here, but now he's still got all this time to make up, and it's got a lot of cars back and forth. I mean, you have to go, the next car he's going to catch is Sherwood Williford. He's a little bit more than 7/10 behind him, can see him, but that's just to get up to the 7th position, Jared. He's got a long ways to go, almost 14 seconds to get to Darren Bruce to get his lap back.
14 seconds, and his next driver up is 5 seconds, Adam Newton, the battle for 21st. Ralph Nolen has gotten passed by both Brian Helm and Casey Mullen, so not a good night for Ralph Nolen, or Brian Helm for that matter, as he is now going to drop to the lowest running playoff driver right now. Still would not be dead last in the points, but these guys are trying to get their lap back from Bobby Terrell and all that group right there. Lane Allen in 18th position. Casey Mullen getting around there, so Casey Mullen moved him up to 17th. He's about half a second from 16th. So Casey Mullen, on his strategy tonight, Chris, he could be a dark horse to finish inside the top 10, which is where he was running when this race started.
Yeah, he's definitely looking to be that little backwards type strategy to get up here. And we mentioned that Wayne Rossi was a lap down. He actually passed Chuck Sweeney, so now he's just he's the first car behind your leader. I believe Jason Spear right in front of him, an additional lap down. So if he's able to stay there and we get a caution, he can get his lap back, and there's only 15. That would put 15 cars on the lead lap.
Right now, he is shown as the first car 1 lap down. Gil Gach, now Rachel Hunt, battling for 13th position. That is to be the last car on the lead lap. Gil Gach getting underneath. Rachel Hunt moved Gil Gach up to 12th. Gil Gach racing out here. He is on the bubble of the 35th position. I want to point that out. But he's only had 1 top 10 this year. He's been caught up in some accidents. But Gil Gach having a solid night in 12th position as he continues to move forward. He is about 8 seconds behind 10th place. So he's got a little bit of work to do. Does have fresher tires. Don't know if he has enough time to get to the top 10.
Yeah, and Rachel Hunt now the last car on the lead lap, as you mentioned, 2 seconds back between her and Darren Bruce. So the handling of that number 51 machine kind of falling off here. Now she's going to have to battle to be up here and to stay on the lead lap.
Darren Bruce has Jason Spear right behind him. That is not for position. Jason Spear not having the night he wanted, I'm sure, back in 29th position. We look at him. He is about 6 seconds behind Kenneth Schultz and about 20 seconds ahead of James Torrey. So he's kind of in no man's land right now. We'll see if Jason Spear can make up some positions as the race goes on, though. In that number 83 in 29th position, he did get underneath Darren Bruce. That's going to lose Darren Bruce a little bit of time. Unfortunately, Chuck Sweeney down to 2-second gap.
Yeah, make it 1.7 seconds on your leader there. Chuck Sweeney putting down some really nice times, and right now he's kind of able to fall in behind of Wayne Grossi and kind of use him to kind of draft to give that up here to your leader.
And he actually gets right back around Wayne Grossi. Wayne Grossi, though, looking back underneath of him, so Wayne Grossi doesn't want to give up the spot to Chuck Sweeney very easily on the track. 1.75 seconds at the line is what we're at, and we have 26 laps to go for Darren Bruce, trying to grab his first career win in FTSR Cup Series. Can the 06 do it? The gap is around 1.7 to 2 seconds. Darren Bruce a little bit better through turn 1 and 2, but there is a boatload of cars in front of these guys that are going to play a factor before this race is over, Chris.
Absolutely. Looking at lap times, 31.36 for Bruce, 31.31 for Sweeney, so about 500s faster. But what's going to come down to it is how Bruce is able to get around this lap traffic.
When you look out the front of Darren Bruce, we've got Josh Johnson, we've got Kenneth Schultz, we've got Rachel Hunt, we've got Gil Gach, we've got Tony Solari all in this mix. So a lot of drivers right here trying to battle to get themselves back on, to stay on the lead lap. Actually, that's Casey Mullen. Apologies. That is, he is trying to get in here as well. So a lot of stuff going on.
And looking at the last lap times, Sweeney fell off about 0.2 of a second to Bruce, and it's showing on the gap here now back up to 2 seconds.
Josh Johnson, the teammate of Darren Bruce, he'll get out of the way very easily. Move him down. Josh Johnson running back in 24th position, 2 laps down. His next opponent, if you will, is Randall Ballard, who is about 3 seconds up the road. So Josh Johnson knows he's got a little bit of work to do, but that could be huge for Darren Bruce. Have a teammate in between you and Chuck Sweeting. Not necessarily there to, like, you know, make it hard. Just make it hard. Don't make it impossible, but make it hard on the guy trying to chase you down.
You certainly couldn't be mentioning the Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick battle at Bristol, where Harvick got held up by the 9, are you?
Of course not.
It would be interesting to see if that happens here. Darren Bruce trying to get that first win in the 06 machine. Now his teammate between him and Chuck Sweeting. Sweeting not able really to make up any time on your leader here with 22 laps to go now. It's going to be interesting to see, Jared. I think he may have worn those tires out trying to get around Wayne Grossi.
And Chuck Sweeting down to 2 1/4 seconds right now as they run. Looking further back, Dale Nearad, he is 2 seconds further back. And you see there Casey Mullen in this group. Casey Mullen trying to chase down Wayne Grossi. Casey Mullen has passed Dale Nearad and Bernard Persson. So not for position, but he is a 1.5 seconds behind Wayne Grossi. And that could be a crucial point as both those drivers are playoff contenders. Rachel Hunt about 5 seconds up the road, as is Gil Gock. 20 laps. Can Casey Mullen mow these guys down? I do think a top 10 is out of the question for the 71. 15 seconds up the road for Mike Watts.
That's certainly a lot of ground to make up, but he is about a second faster. So with 21 laps to go, it may not be completely out of the question, but right now he's just trying to get on the lead lap here so he can even start worrying about making up positions on the rest of the field. Chuck Sweeney now catching the 05, going to have to go around him to get to Darren Bruce.
And Dean Doucette checking in on him. He has moved up to 19th ahead of Ralph Nolen Jr. Ralph Nolen having a tough night at Texas. And Josh Johnson now has Chuck Sweeting barreling down on him. 2 seconds is the gap. 20 to go here at Texas Motor Speedway. And we take a look at this battle going on here. Just ahead of our race leader, that's Rachel Hunt, Randall Ballard, and Darren Bruce going to pick his way through here very gingerly. And Chuck Sweeting has definitely gotten held up just a little bit. He lost about 1/10 through that corner.
10th through the corner, almost 4/10 on the entire lap. That's just how hard it's been for the Chuck Sweeting to get around the 05 of Josh Johnson. Josh Johnson trying to help out his teammate here any way he can, and kind of can't blame him, Jared.
Yeah, he's not doing anything wrong. I mean, he's just running up on the high side, but he's not giving a lot of space. He's not letting off the gas. He's just driving his normal line, but moving up the track. He's giving Chuck Sweeting everything on the bottom, but he's not letting off to let him go by. And these cars very much depend on that side draft. While that was going on, right behind them, Wayne Grossi has been caught by Casey McMullen, who is continuing to mow these guys down. McMullen looking on the inside of Grossi.
McMullen trying to get that 71 machine up here and past Grossi. Grossi knows that that is for position, that is for a point in this playoffs. Doesn't want to give it up, but I don't think he's going to have much of a choice. It's McMullen way faster. Oh, but McMullen gets a little bit loose coming out of the corners.
Casey McMullen, just a solid, consistent driver, and you know he's going to have everything he needs as this race continues to go on. What can he do in that 71 machine? And you look at Wayne Grossi sliding up the track. Everybody's starting to slide around now.
These tires getting a little bit older for these drivers that pitted around lap, I believe it was 160. Now we've got Casey McMullen. Sorry, not 160. That would have been incredibly recently. But Casey McMullen, he's all on the back of Wayne Grossi. Not able to get around him yet, but that's still a pretty great battle.
It is. Wayne Grossi trying to do everything he can. Now he came in, as we said, 4 points behind Casey McMullen. He would net 0 at this point in time because McMullen does have that lap led here tonight. McMullen going to make another run on the bottom.
That he does. He's going to pull to the inside of the number 7. Go dive deep into the corner here, hoping to slide up in front of the 7. Easily able to do it. Look in his mirror though, Jared. You got those two teammates, the 03 and the 8 machine, now battling for the 3rd position. And these two right now, the only thing that separates them, I believe, is the fact that they are one in front of the other. Right now, it looks like Dale Nearad would be 1 point ahead of Bernard Persson. leaving this track.
Yeah, the tiebreaker coming into the race was wins. Dale Neera with 3, Bernard Persson with 2. The tiebreaker, no tiebreaker right now, as both drivers have led a lap, so it would be whoever finishes higher. So Dale Neera would gain a point on Bernard Persson. They are the highest running playoff drivers. We haven't talked a lot about them as things have kind of shifted focus to Darren Bruce with 14 laps to go, 2.5 seconds away from his first victory right now. And you look at Dale Neera doing a great job. Bernard Persson, Bobby Terrell has dropped off the back here. There's Brian Helm. He is coming through. But Brian Helm, that strategy not paying off at all right now. 17th as he's trying to work the outside of Bobby Terrell. He is about 3 seconds behind Casey Nolen, a second and a half ahead of Dean Doucette, and he is losing time. Brian Helm just not having a great night here tonight.
No, he's not. And right then, he had to get completely out of the throttle to not get into the wall and into Bobby Terrell in the 5. So that's 26 headed in the wrong direction. And right now, behind him, Dean Doucette's closing in, only just right at a second behind him.
Doucette a little bit loose off the bottom there. He gets around Josh Johnson pretty easily. And Dean Doucette, he is about 18 seconds off the top 10, Chris, and he is running about... he is not running that much quicker than the top 10, unfortunately.
No, he's not, and unfortunate for him. Looking up back at your leader, the lead is now back down to 2.3 seconds as Darren Bruce is looking to get around this lap traffic, just not able to do so quite so quickly. Next car in line is Rachel Hunt, but she's not going to make it easy, Jared.
No, Rachel Hunt there in 13th position and doing a good job there in the 51 machine, although there is no number on that car here tonight. It is registered as the 51, but or the 16. I'm not sure exactly what that number is registered as, but we're coming down to 10 laps to go. She is out of the playoffs, unfortunately, after missing Charlotte last week, but still trying to get a good run out of the season and kind of build a notebook for next year. Gilgock just in front of her. And then further up the road, I mean, TJ Bartel and Mike Watts probably not in danger of going a lap down as we have 10 laps to go at Texas.
10 laps to go and a 2.4 second lead for Darren Bruce on that number 75 machine of Chuck Sweeney. Sweeney just not able to put together the laps here in the end. Kind of interesting. It looks like that strategy of short pitting for Darren Bruce is going to work out here.
And Chris, I've seen it a million times where that short pitch strategy never works out. And I was like, Darren Bruce, I like the call, but I thought he's going to have to get in and out of pit road quick. And I think the advantage was when he came out on pit road, Chris, he had nobody around him. And that was the difference, is he's going to work his way underneath Rachel Hunt and put her a lap down. That's going to give us just 12 drivers on the lead lap now, as you see a big gaggle in front of Darren Bruce. Kenneth Schultz, Tony Solari, Gil Gach, and Jason Spear all there in front of him.
And actually, right there, as he was trying to get around Rachel Hunt, Darren Bruce lost a little bit of time to Sweeney. Now that lead down to 2 seconds, Jared. Looking at what caused all this to go down, the pit lap time for Darren Bruce was a 41.8. Everyone else in the top 10 was a 42 or 43. So he was a second and a half quicker getting to and from pit road. That's really the difference maker here tonight. If you look at it, I mean, yeah, if he had lost that 1 second, 2 seconds, Chuck Sweeney would be there. They would be battling for the lead right now, but not right now, as Darren Bruce was able to make a quick time getting on and off of pit road, but he's got a lot of traffic in front of him.
He got around Rachel Hunt, then Rachel Hunt went back around him. I mean, that's a little bit frustrating as the race leader. When you got lap traffic battling with you, he is going around some of these guys that are a couple laps down. Actually, it looks like Rachel Hunt may have moved up the track to get out of the way. I'm not sure.
Not at all. She used the outside to get a little bit of momentum coming out of the corner. That's got to be even that much more frustrating, as Darren Bruce can see the lap times. Now Sweeney down to 1.5 seconds behind him.
Yeah, Sweeney also has to get through this traffic, though, so to be fair. So, but they're going to be much harder on the leader. Rachel Hunt is now jumping in behind Darren Bruce, or almost there. And now she's way out on the outside again. And that's, man, I always hate that situation. I mean, you got to race, I get it. But at the same time, there's Darren Bruce going to the high side, gets in front of Rachel Hunt.
And Rachel got out of the throttle there. She knew that she had held up the leader enough. And that's just a classy move by Hunt, as she knew that that was all hurting Darren Bruce, as Sweeney was catching him in a hurry. That lead now down to 1 second. But you mentioned it. Now Sweeney's got to get through the same traffic.
Yeah, and I don't know if I think classy. I think that would have been classy if it was done about 5 laps sooner. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I like that. But Darren Bruce still holding on to the lead. 5 laps to go, coming to 4 laps to go. And Chuck Sweeting right around 1 second. Now, he is working on his way underneath Kenneth Schultz, and he gets around those guys pretty quickly. But now he's got Rachel Hunt right there on the back bumper of Darren Bruce. This is pretty much for the marbles, and Rachel Hunt is pretty much stalking the 06 car.
That she is. She's really got a little bit faster car on that high line than Darren Bruce. Bruce kind of needing to get some laps together here. But at this point, unless Chuck Sweeney can have some super laps, I don't think he's going to get there in time, Jared.
0.3 of a second now the difference between those or 3/4 of a second as we get the flagman to have 3 fingers in the air. 3 laps to go at Texas. Sweeting is catching Darren Bruce. That last time he did a 31.3 to Darren Bruce's 31.46. Rachel Hunt to the high side. Will she kind of hold up Chuck Sweeting like she did Darren Bruce? We'll see with that high side. And it's not, I don't mean to say that she's holding him up, but it just her line is getting her such a good run off the corner. And it looks like she is going to race right through here. 2 to go at the line.
2 to go, and now a 0.6 of a second lead. Sweeney doing everything he possibly can, trying different grooves here, but is it too little, too late? Now got to get around the lap traffic of Rachel Hunt. Hunt going to that middle. No, she goes down to the low groove there, trying to give Chuck Sweeney a run on the outside. It's down to 0.5 of a lead on Darren Bruce to Chuck Sweeney.
Darren Bruce has got to see that blue and black number 75 getting larger and larger in the mirror. Here is Chuck Sweeting. He is going to get around Rachel Hunt. So now it's just those two. 0.5 a second between them. White flag in the air.
0.5 a second, Jared. I don't think Sweeney can get past him. He may get to the bumper of him, but he's going to have to try to do something completely different if he's going to get up there to the 06, and I just don't see it happening.
Darren Bruce holding on, trying to grab his first career win. He'd be the 9th driver to do so this year. Bobby Terrell goes off track. We'll have to take a look and see what happened. And now Darren Bruce gets around Lane Allen as the lap's coming down to the end, so that's going to help him as well. Chuck Sweeting also gets around him. Here they come to the line. It's going to be Darren Bruce grabbing his first career win at Texas Motor Speedway in the 06 machine. Chuck Sweeting grabs 2nd. Dale Nairad 3rd. Bernard Person will grab 4th, and Bobby Terrell comes home 5th. It did say he went off track, but I guess that might have been an error there. Troy Torgerson will come home 6th in a quiet night, followed by Sherry Williford. Brody Hanna in 8th. Richie Coy in 9th, and Mike Watts will grab his 4th top 10 of the year in 10th place.
What an incredible race. TJ Bartell is going to bring it home 11th. Gil Gok 12th. Rachel Hunt 13th. 14th Casey McMullen. Josh Mayhew 15th. 16th Wayne Grassi. Brian Helm 17th. 18th Dean Doucette. 19th Mark Figueroa. And behind him, running out your top 20, Adam Newton. But Darren Bruce, your winner here tonight for the first time with just 0.2 of a second lead on Chuck Sweeney. Sweeney needed about 3 more laps, and he might have been able to get it done, Jared.
3 more laps, and maybe Darren Bruce very lucky on that exchange with some lap traffic there, but he gets it done, and he becomes another first-time winner. Darren Bruce, I mean, I said it a few weeks ago when we were at Michigan, Chris. I said Darren Bruce looks like he could be a driver that's going to contend here, and he finally punches his ticket. Didn't know it was going to be this soon, but he steals a win from a playoff driver, so nobody locked in as we head to Kansas next week.
No one locked in as the 06 excitedly doing a burnout blows it up on the front straightaway, Jared. That just shows the excitement out of Darren here as he's able to get this win at Texas Motor Speedway.
That he is. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll hear from our top 5 finishers, or top 3 finishers here tonight at Texas Motor Speedway. We are back live here at Texas Motor Speedway, where Darren Bruce shocks the field, Chris, and grabs a huge win.
A huge win, doing it by short pitting. Jared, you and I talked about it. We love the call to short pit, but often it doesn't work out well when you go on these long green flag runs. He was able to make it work, but just barely over Chuck Sweeney.
Exactly right. What a drive it was. Let's take a look at our championship, unofficial championship standings here tonight. And as I said, it is unofficial. And let's take a look at that listing. So here we go. Dale Nearad, as we expected, he does gain 1 point on Bernard Person, and he gains an additional 2 points on Bobby Terrell. All those drivers led laps, so it all comes out even. Brody Hanna moves into the top 4. Casey Mullen drops to 5th, 5 points outside the cut line. Wayne Grossi does move up, but he is now 11 points behind Brody Hanna. Then we have Brian Helm and Ralph Nolen rounding out the rest of your top 8 right now, Chris.
And Jared, just that much more frustrating for those playoff drivers, having a non-playoff driver win and really kind of taking away a race for them. And I know it doesn't seem like it to the rest of the field, but these drivers, they're battling up here. They want to get themselves locked into the final race, but not able to do so here tonight. And really, it was just due to the pure luck of the pit stop strategy here for Darren Bruce and Chuck Sweeney. Kind of probably had the fastest car at the end, but not able to get up there in enough time to actually have any time to get around Bruce.
Exactly right. And let's hear from our third place finisher. That's Dale Nearad. Dale Nearad, congratulations on the third place finish here tonight, but talk about how difficult this Texas Motor Speedway was and how that race went for you.
Thank you, Jared. The race has been pretty difficult. You have to really pedal the corners each time, especially with me losing the lead pretty quickly after my cards. The heat in the tires weren't in yet, and just really tight.
Well, Chris, sorry, Dale. We saw, your car didn't look as bad as some of your other teammates. Maybe Brian Helm looked like he was very loose. We saw Bernie get loose. You looked, like you said, a little bit on the tighter side, but let's go back to the very start there. Looked like you got a bit of a head start there, but you were able to kind of give that position back up. Was that in your mind at all? Did you think you had a clear start there at the beginning?
I sure timed it right. I was just experimenting with the first gear start, and oh my, that was a hell of a jump I got from there.
Yeah, you had a great start there, and then you go through the rest of the race. You lose the lead to Dean Doucette, but then you have Dean Doucette and your teammate Brian Helm elect to go for a 3-stopper tonight. How much was that in the cards for your team?
Well, it was kind of deviating from our normal pit strategy, but I don't know. It seemed to fit with them to pit around lap 42. I decided to stick with 55, 110, just to see how still things played out.
Well, you're able to kind of make that play for you, and then we saw your teammate Bernard Person get loose there at the end of that second run there, and then we saw Chuck Sweden get loose. A little bit of damage on the front end of the 3 car, or the 8 car, I should say. Did that kind of allow you to kind of get around Bernie there at the end?
Well, yeah, I kind of have to apologize for him because I was pushing so much air in his rear bumper, it caused him to get so loose when I got by him. It was just selfish of me, but I hate to say this, but what can you do for the playoffs?
Well, it is the playoffs, and it is down to it. You came in tied. You'll leave here tonight with a 1-point lead over Bernard Person and a 3-point lead over Bobby Terrell. We're going to head to Kansas next week. How are you feeling about Kansas Speedway and your chances to lock yourself into the championship for it?
Oh, I don't like Kansas. That's just going to survive that track.
Well, that's not good. You don't like Kansas at all?
No, just really smooth, really hypersensitive to tire wear, and really technical track as well. So it'll be a difficult challenge, but there shouldn't be anything shouldn't be too hard to do.
Well, Dale, you have a little bit of a gap on the 5th place driver now, Casey Mullen, but that's going to be it for that. How are you feeling about Martinsville and getting to Phoenix?
Well, Martinsville, obviously in April, I was doing a really good job making my way through the field, hitting people as well. But Martinsville, Phoenix, oh my. Phoenix was my first win. That was one of my favorite tracks. Reminds me a lot of Iowa Speedway, which is kind of like a similar driving style, which I really hope to get in the championship for. And I have a really good shot there in Phoenix getting that championship.
Well, Dale, congratulations on grabbing third tonight. I'm going to turn the mic over to you and let you have the last word.
First, I have to thank Spear Motorsports, working really hard setups, especially with the playoffs right now. I have to apologize to Bernie. Just racing way too hard, just too selfish of me. Also, got to thank Rage Graphics, Dairy Queen, sponsorships, helping me get into these races. Thank you so much. And I have to thank FTSR putting up these great shows. You, Jared, Chris, broadcasting them, bringing them to a really good audience we have here tonight.
Well, there you have it, Chris, our point leader heading into Kansas Speedway, Dale Neera. And I believe you've caught up with non-playoff driver Chuck Sweeting grabbing up the runner-up position.
That I have. I've caught up with Chuck Sweeney. Chuck, 2/10 behind Darren Bruce there at the end. Tell me what it was like those last few laps when you could see Bruce getting bigger in that mirror or that windshield.
I was just hoping I could catch him, but I really wasn't expecting to. He never put a wheel wrong the whole night, and he got such a big gap on me after that round of pit stops. I don't know. I don't know how he wasn't speeding or something, because he really gained on me there. But it was fun. It was fun trying to run him down. My car really came in real late in the run, and that's what happened again. It just didn't happen soon enough this time.
Chuck, looking at the pit lap time there between you and Darren Bruce. Darren Bruce got in at 41.85. You were right behind him with a 42.3. But just that amount of time was what the difference was between the you and the lead there. I think a couple laps more and you might have had him.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's pretty close right there. Maybe if I'd have done a little bit better, I could have got him right before the end of the race. But congrats to him. That's an awesome job. It was such an awesome league and an awesome race. I mean, I've been on iRacing a long time. You don't run too many caution-free races, and these cars, and this league is just such a nice league to run in. So I appreciate all the admins and all the work they do.
Absolutely, Chuck. And is there anyone else you'd like to thank that helps get this number 75 to and from the virtual track?
Yeah, I want to thank my teammate Gilgok. He puts a lot of work in on paints and the setups with these things, and tweaks them for me, and we seem to roll pretty good with it. So I really appreciate all his hard work, and of course thanks to Darkmatter and all the sponsors of the league for everything they do.
And Chuck, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, you're not a playoff driver here tonight. Does it kind of feel good to be up here and still a podium position away from these playoff drivers?
Well, it just always feels good to run well and finish well. And these guys are good, so anytime I can beat some of them, then yeah, that feels good. But as far as the playoffs goes, I just don't want to interfere and have any contact with any of them. I want to let them play it out themselves. So that's all I'm watching out for.
Absolutely. Next week we head to Kansas. What can we expect out of this number 75 machine?
I usually run pretty well at Kansas. If we have some long runs, I think I'll run pretty good there, similar to how I ran tonight, hopefully anyway.
Well, we'll be looking forward to it. Congrats again on the second place finish here tonight, and we'll be watching for you in Kansas next week.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
And Jared, I believe you've caught up with our first-time winner, Darren Bruce, in the 06 machine down in Victory Lane here tonight.
Yeah, I've caught up with Darren Bruce, grabbing his first career FTSR Cup Series victory. Congratulations, Darren.
Hey, thanks, man. How about that? Did y'all see that?
What a race, man. I mean, you have been showing your talent as the season's gone on. I mean, you joined, you're only making your 13th race appearance this year. Finished in the top 10 a couple times, but this is your first top 5 in the season and your first win, and you came from 12th place to do it.
Yeah, it was a struggle. I did a lot of practicing. This is a great league since I got into it, and I was just telling them other guys that my goal has been to drive to where the fast guys, the guys up front, with everybody is not afraid to run around me. You know, I want to build confidence with everybody else.
Well, I think winning a race, especially a playoff race where there was a lot of battling with those playoff drivers and you raced them clean, I think you definitely earned some respect here tonight. But let's talk about your race. First off, you started back in 12th, so you had to work your way through the field. But by lap 30, you're already up in the top 5.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. I was more set up for a cooler track, and I thought I was going to be out in left field when I seen how hot the track was. But I wasn't that great on new tires, but it seemed like the longer I ran, the better I got until the very end, and that's when Chuck really ate my lunch.
Well, let's talk about your pit stops. So you obviously you went with the 2-stopper. You had some guys go with the 3-stopper. Dean Doucette, Brian Helm among those. Did you consider a 3-stopper there at all tonight?
I never considered it as long as it went green. Caution would have changed things up, but I was planning on just doing 2 the whole time.
And then that last pit stop, that was your difference maker. You had the fastest pit lane time. My colleague Chris Spear was talking about that. 41.93 is the official pit lane time. Chuck Sweeting a 42.47. I mean, that's huge. Half a second that you gained just getting on and off pit road. Was that the difference in this race tonight?
It had to help. I was telling Chuck in the other room there that I was sliding my tires coming to the cone and sliding up to my pit board in the box. That was about as hard as I went in for a pit stop on both ends there.
Now, did you feel like you could drive aggressively? Because, I mean, you're battling to get in the top 35, but you're kind of out here just to get wins. Did you feel like you could be a little bit more aggressive with the car and the setup maybe?
Yeah, I was very, very aggressive with tape and stuff. I know we're not in the points deal. We're just trying to get us some top 10s and maybe squeak out a win or 2 here, and we might met that goal.
Well, Darren, what a job. I've been touting on you. We've watched you on other leagues. I thought you were a great driver there, and you definitely brought that talent over here to Full Throttle Sim Racing. But I'm going to give you this opportunity. First-time winner. I'm going to turn the mic over to you and let you have the last word on your night.
I absolutely want to thank KTB Motorsports, Josh Mayu and Joshua and Mark and James. They've been good to work with. I want to give a shout out to my cousin Wayne Stansel. He gave me some V3 pedals, really helped me out a lot. And I want to thank my stepson that does my computer work. He's my engineer, and my wife for letting me do this.
Well, there you have it, Chris. Elated first-time winner, Darren Bruce. A lot of people to thank, but he gets a big check mark off his list.
That he does. And now we're going to head to Kansas, another 1.5 mile track known for tire wear, and how that goes and plays into it. Next week, going to be an exciting one. No one locked into the championship race yet here on Full Throttle TV for the Darkmatter Designs Cup Series. But, Jared, it's a pretty tight battle once you get to 4th on back in the points.
Yeah, it is. Let's take a look at those race results and especially highlight the playoff drivers. You'll see 3, 4, and 5, Nearad, Person, and Terrell grabbing the highest running playoff drivers. They were the highest in points coming in, so the separation not too big among those 3. Brody Hanna will grab best of the rest in 8th. Casey Mullen on that awkward kind of long, short strategy he did winds up 14th. Wayne Grossi drops to 16th. Brian Helm could only muster 17th. And we look down the rest of this, Ralph Nolen Jr., tough race for him as he's going to come home 21st. Got passed by Adam Newton on the last lap, so another point he lost. You look down through the rest of it. Poliski, Vrooman, Elder, and Staubitz failed to finish the race. 30 cars landed on the racetrack tonight.
And that's going to put Ralph Nolen in that 8th position, minus 30 points to your leader, minus it is 16 points to Brody Hanna in 4th place there. So kind of a little bit of a hole for Ralph Nolen to battle out of. And now Casey McMullen 4 points out, Wayne Grossi 11 points out. All these drivers, Jared, they're going to have an excellent week at Kansas to be able to make up any ground if they're going to get into that championship race.
Exactly right, and we'll have all that coverage next Monday night as you see the championship there. Do want to highlight that top 35 battle as well. That's important as well. Gil Gock still there. Chuck Sweeting moves into the top 35. John Held out. Adam Newton right on the verge as well. So we got a lot to race for there. I don't want to leave these guys out toward the back as they are racing for something as well. back there to finish in the top 35 in points. And obviously the top 25 in points still in effect for this season. So those drivers outside the top 25 have to qualify in if we have more than 43, which has not happened in at least a couple races. So we'll see how that goes on as the season goes on. 3 races to go. We'll have Kansas, Martinsville, and Phoenix, but that's going to do it for Texas tonight. And we'll have all the coverage from Kansas next week. Dean Doucette will be back in the booth on Wednesday night for Full Throttle Sim Racing as the Truck Series enters round number 2. Those guys, their schedule is actually flipped, so they were at Kansas last week. They're going to be Texas this week, so you don't want to miss that. In the meantime, we'll have Kickin' Asphalt on Tuesday night and also ECL on Sunday night as well. But that's going to do it for tonight. For Chris Spear, for Texas Motor Speedway, for Full Throttle Sim Racing, I'm Jared Carr. We'll see you guys out on the track.